See, she's got a question. She wouldn't tell me the question so I could think about it.
We have, today is September 3rd, 2023. Elena is visiting us from Japan, and we'll get back to talking about Elena in a minute. Ron,
Let's talk about me.
let's talk about you. What does your t-shirt say?
I understand, I just don't care.
Elena
That's
picked
my-
it for him.
My attitude.
Why don't you explain to Elena how the family came together? How did you get with Nancy?
She might watch this. You looked across the room and saw the most beautiful woman in the world.
Don't agitate me. We were actually, I was going with this girl, and she from Warsaw, Illinois, and she said, "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow," and I knew she wasn't gonna. We were kind of done, so I knew she wasn't going to see me the next day. So I was out just prowling around, looking around. Went to the YMCA, and my first girlfriend, Dana, was there. And she was saying, better ask me out now because I'm going to be gone. Her parents moved to a different place. And
You didn't.
I didn't.
Do you regret that?
Oh, look at all the people over there.
I can't see that far.
Do you?
So I went down to the theater where I'd worked before, and I just walk in. They didn't charge me. I just walked in. And Nancy was there with 3 or 4 of her friends, boys and girls, and I was just kind of hanging with them. And
I feel like there's a big gap right there.
And then the next thing, Elena's born.
that's pretty much.
Well, why did you pick Nana out of all the other people?
Nana picked
Because
him.
they were all with someone else except,
except
Nana. She was the odd one out.
And you're like, table scraps.
And she had an apartment.
God. You were a JJ.
That explains so much, doesn't it?
Except I didn't mind working. So anyway, we ended up together.
He went and stayed in her apartment.
And
Yeah.
you were just so smart to not use condoms.
Oh yeah, I never did. I figured I was sterile
Why?
because, I mean, I've been going for a couple of years and nobody ended up pregnant.
That you know.
I
used-
never even thought about it.
Oh my
That he
God.
knows of.
Huh?
That you know of.
That I know of.
Well, Kyogak is small. I feel
No,
like.
he had gone into the Marines
Huh?
Oh,
before that.
you
This
probably have some Vietnamese babies out there.
No. No.
No Vietnamese.
No Vietnamese.
So Nancy became pregnant.
Yeah, and she came home one day and said, "Oh, I'm pregnant. We're gonna have to get married." And I'm going.
And what did Greg say?
Greg said, "Come on, downstairs. I got the car. We'll go to California."
And why did you not go to California?
I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
It was that that
Responsibility,
good old
yeah.
Christian boy nature.
Yeah.
I think it's more than that. It's integrity, because he always took care of them, even after they were divorced.
I just
So you guys got married, and talk about, they got into your house and put salt in the sheets and all that
They
kind of
sold
stuff that happened.
Yeah, the wedding night, they came up, short sheeted the bed.
Who?
His friends.
Some of the guys salted the sheets so that you lay down in salt.
Gross.
Uh, they Vaseline the toilet seat. And I'm in the front room or whatever, and I hear the thump. Nancy fell off the toilet. Fell off the toilet seat.
And tell her about the can without a label and how poor you guys were.
Man, we only had one can of, I think, green beans.
He doesn't know what it was.
Yeah, I don't even know what it was. But we had one can of food because neither one of us were working at that time. And I came home and they'd taken the label off the can. And I was getting hungry and I wasn't going to open that can because I didn't know what it was.
20 years later, I asked him what was in the can, and he looked at me and said,
We
You
threw
opened the can?
away. Threw the can away because I didn't know what it was. I never thought about opening the can.
This is the same person who didn't think about using condoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you drink your Kool-Aid?
Without sugar. It was like pink water.
It's gross.
Talk about when Gina was born.
No, you're skipping too much.
Okay. Then you
Um,
ask.
What did you do for work when you were married with Nana?
We ended up getting a job together out at Scheller Globe, which is where my mom and my dad worked. The whole family went through
At what?
Scheller Globe. They make dashes for cars, the rubber parts that go in cars, the armrest, and all of that stuff. So worked there. I remember I worked fast. And I had a bunch of women come around one time. It was kind of like the goon squad for Scheller Globe. And they said, you're making way too much over because you get paid extra for making over. And they said they'll end up turning around and raising the limit of what you can make and can't make. So I just slowed down.
Did you, like, being married to Nana, did you think you would just do that job the rest of your life, or
Oh no,
you always wanted to do something different?
no. I also worked at Hubinger's.
What?
Hubinger's.
What is that?
It's a
First-
big corn products.
First
plant.
time I was in Keokuk, I asked him, "That smell? Are they spraying for bugs or something?" And Ron's response was,
No, it's Hubinger's. It smells like that all the time.
"It's a corn processing."
Oh.
Yeah, corn processing plant. They make syrup. A
Corn
bunch.
syrup.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah. And is that the one where your people would work in the silos?
Yeah.
Did you do that?
Unloading the corn. Oh, well, actually, the corn sometimes freezes up and hardens in the silos. So maybe 30 feet above the ground, there's this crust that you can go down to and walk around on it. But it's 30 feet up. They would have us, they would tie ropes around us and dangle us down and have us chop holes in the crust. And then you'd hear a rumbling. Take me out, take me out.
It's a
And
nasty
the
job.
bottom would drop out.
Yeah, that's one nasty job.
Did you ever have any close calls?
No,
No.
no, I never bothered me. What bothered me was I was working with this John Dunlop, I think, or whatever, and we were unloading a car of, is it 100-pound bags of
Whatever.
something, and this is like the third day I'd worked there, so I'm putting these 100-pound bags because I don't want to look bad in front of John. Did that all day long, went home that night. Couldn't even move my shoulders. Couldn't move my body. The next day, Nancy says, time to get up and go to work. And I kind of scooched over to the edge of the bed. I was in so much pain.
Masculinity.
So then they moved me to unloading these. They bring in these box cars full of corn, and you had a big flat board with 3 chains on it. That kind of, and you throw the board up into the corn, and get behind the board, and when it kicked in, it would draw the board to the door. And that's how you unloaded a boxcar of corn. And there was one board for each side. And it was a hard. Nobody wanted that job. But I got used to doing it. Me and Ernie Meadows, I think that was his name, Ernie Meadows. We were one team. John was, and some other guy was another team. And
How much did you make doing that?
I think it was $7 or $8, and that was a lot.
That's a lot of money.
That was a lot of money then. But Hoovinger's always paid real good. My cousin Steve retired from there. My Uncle Merle, not Merle, Kenny retired from there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just hate corn after working there?
No, I love corn.
But he hates painting things because it's messy on his hands.
I don't like grease and stuff on my hands. And then I ended up in Phoenix having a job at a printing company
Oh.
where I ran a printer, a PCM, paper converting machine that made computer paper. God, I hated that job.
More than the corn?
Well, I started out with an easy one where you just take the paper off the machine and put it in a box and put it on this conveyor belt. And I was too damn smart.
Yeah, that was it.
They promoted me to operator.
Oh.
So I became a printer.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to back you up.
I'm backing up.
When you're in Keokuk, you decide to go to school. You guys went to missionary school?
Oh, Christian college.
Christian college? You want to talk about that? And did you guys have Gina and Dee Dee by then?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah. And I was a hound.
When did you
And Nancy was a hound.
When did you start to know that it wasn't going to work out with Nana?
When she came home and said, I'm pregnant, we're going to have to get married.
Oh, come on.
Did you at least in your brain think, okay, I got to try and make it work? Or did you know?
Oh, no, I did. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, okay, married, that's fine.
When did it really start to go downhill?
Didn't take long.
Before Mom and Aunt Dee Dee were born?
Well,
Talk about Gina being born first.
Nancy and I got along, but we had our arguments too. The one time she said, "I'm going to give up Pepsi." I said, "Oh, okay." And we had one big bottle of Pepsi. I took it upstairs, stuck it in the bowl where the toilet bowl. I put it in there because I didn't want to tempt her. And she came in one and said, "Where's the Pepsi?" And I said, "You gave up Pepsi." "Where's the Pepsi?" I said, you said you gave up Pepsi, so I got rid of it. And she just went completely mental. So I went
Like
up.
you wouldn't.
I went up and I got it, and she was standing on the stairway, and I handed it to her, and I walked down the stairs, and whoosh, it went right past my head.
I've never heard
And
that
it
story.
just blew up all over the house. Don't mess with Mother Nature.
Yeah, you instigated it.
Yeah, I did, because I knew she's not going to give up Pepsi.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? You and Nancy actually have a good divorce, a good relationship.
After the divorce.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
you
not
actually
at
have
the
a really
very
good one.
first.
Hmm?
At the very first, I was going with Deb.
Wife number 2.
Yeah, Nancy hated Deb. And I don't blame her. I mean, that's the reason we were divorced. And every time Nancy wanted to go out, she'd just bring Gina and Deanna over to my house and leave them there. And which I didn't like. But I really didn't try to help her or anything.
Well, after the divorce, though, you always lived close to them. I mean, you were very conscious about that.
That was because of the girls. I felt guilty not living close. And Nancy was having a lot of problems with Gina.
Mm-hmm.
At that young of it, how old were they?
I don't know how they. Oh,
12, 13.
What was
Gina would just take off.
at 12?
yeah.
13 maybe.
She came back on her 13th birthday.
Oh, okay, I know this story.
Yeah. So
By then, you weren't with Deb then. Go ahead.
no, nothing. No.
Well, I want you to tell her about Gina being born and what she looked like, and then Dee Dee.
When Gina was born, I was at the hospital and they brought her out, and she was just snow white and dark hair. She was the most beautiful baby I'd ever seen. I mean, she was gorgeous. Then Deanna was born, and Deanna was purple and green and white and white and black hair and just her face was swollen, and she was the scariest thing I'd ever seen.
Poor Andy. Sorry.
But it was amazing at the difference between the two. It was like, no, now I'm wondering, did I really produce both of those?
Did you ever check?
I never checked. But I did question Gina.
You did question Gina? Why?
It was just,
She was too perfect?
I know Nancy was fooling around with other people at the time.
Mm.
So, I don't know.
Well, we did a DNA test and you are my grandpa, so.
When
Yeah.
did you do a DNA test?
Ancestry. It matched us.
Yeah. You're mostly Scandinavian, Ron.
I might be a cousin.
No, it matched
Paternal.
Grandpa.
Paternal.
Damn, fly.
I know. I keep getting.
And the best part of her DNA is she has 1% Spanish.
No, I'm
No.
30%
Oh,
Spanish.
30%.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Excuse
Yeah.
me.
Get your stuff straight, Mom. I'm less white than you.
I know, go figure.
The heck?
Ron, talk to her about why you went to the Christian, what was the goal of going to the Christian University? Didn't you work in the mental health hospital then too?
I did.
And it was like Nebraska or someplace weird?
We were going to Guy Chase's church at the time. And I never went to church a lot, but one day I was in the house and I was coming down the stairs, I think, and Nancy was sitting in the front room and I heard God say my name. Swear, heard God say my name. All he said was Ron. But I knew from that point on I needed to look into religion, into faith. And I asked Nancy, I said, did you hear that? No, didn't hear a thing. But I mean, it was like, and then like 2 days later, a minister stopped at our house and came up and started talking to me. It just progressed from there. And Guy Chase said so that I was thinking about going to college, and he mentioned it, and he pretty much paid for my college, I think.
The GI Bill did. Yeah, the GI Bill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and he probably paid for it too.
he did. Because he was brokenhearted when I,
Quit.
yeah.
How long were
He
you?
felt it was his fault.
How long were you there?
3 years.
And you quit after 3? Really?
Yeah, because Arthur and Linda had already moved to Arizona, and we had gone out there on vacation, and we're swimming in the pool, and the weather's warm, and Arthur said, when you guys gonna move out here? So like 5 days later. No, it was longer than that, but yeah.
Do the song that you used to do in the car driving Dee Dee and Gina
Oh.
when you did road trips.
And the girls just cracked them up on this. Where, oh, where is sweet little Gina? Where, oh, where is sweet little Gina? Where, oh, where is sweet little Gina? Way down yonder in the pawpaw patch, picking up pawpaws. And then I'd get down and I'd go, where, oh, where is sweet little Deanna? And we do that for hundreds of miles. I remember we had visited Art and Linda, and we were on our way back to on our way back to Iowa, and we were coming up upon Texas, Amarillo, Texas. And I said, Nancy, I'm really tired. Could you drive for a while? And she goes, I don't drive well at night. And I said, just for a little while, you know? So I got out and she started driving on like this. And then all of a sudden I looked up and she's hitting this off ramp at about 90. She goes down the off ramp, bounces over the centerpiece, and goes up the on ramp. And I'm sitting there going, pull over, pull over. And I never went back to sleep again. I drove the rest of the way home. She said, she got up, stopped, and said, told you I don't.
She did tell you.
She did. I did tell you I don't drive well at night. And all I could think is, Jesus. It's the scariest thing I've ever heard. And both the girls were asleep in the back seat.
Never woke up.
Terrified me.
How did you meet Deb?
Working at Lofton's Business Forms, where I was the printer.
Oh, in Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh, this was after you moved.
Oh, yeah. She was one of the catchers, where you catch the paper and put it in a box, and
Mm-hmm.
and she asked me for a ride one day in the morning. She said, I don't have a way to get there. Could you give me a ride? She dialed in on me. And she'll even admit, yeah, she dialed in on me. And
And you were monogamous with her. When you were with Deb, you were monogamous.
99% of the time.
Really?
There was once when she wanted to leave me. She was just going to leave me. And she moved out. And Ron Fry, one of the guys I worked with, had a sister-in-law. And I went with her for a while.
Mm.
Then Deb found out about it and wrote me a letter saying, I lost the baby we had. And I was going to go back to Deb no matter what.
Hmm.
But
What was it about Deb you liked so much?
I don't know. She was smart.
She was pretty young.
Oh yeah, she was like, when we met, I thought she was like 18 or 19. She was working at a printing company, and she was 17.
Oh,
And you guys were together for 7 years.
About almost exactly the same age as Robin, except her birthday was in March or April. Where's Nancy's birthday?
April.
April? March.
That's how you remember the wives' birthdays.
And which one knows it better? You want to tell her about when Deb sent you to Keokuk? It explains something. If you don't want to tell her, that's okay.
We'd been going together for 6 years and had gotten married. We've been married almost a year. And she said, why don't you go to Keokuk and hang out? And I thought, thanks, you know. So I drove to Keokuk, and she called me and said, I filed for divorce. Which broke my heart.
Yeah, what a horrible way to do it, too.
Yep.
Do you remember the one time when I was in Japan and he
At
called me?
one time she had said, well, I'm doing this for you.
Ugh.
Oh, I know.
Ugh.
What about Japan?
The one time in Japan that he called and asked me, why did I leave him in Iowa? I mean, it wasn't a joke. He was serious. He was having a panic attack because he was reliving that.
It'd been over 10 days.
Yeah.
I have a 10-day limit on vacations.
Away from me. If we're
Yeah.
together, it's okay.
After, day 11, I start going,
Deb?
you hear somebody in the front room?
And we hadn't talked because we were busy, and he called and was, why did you leave me in Iowa? Well, you wanted to be in Iowa. That's why I left you.
That's no excuse.
But that's why. And you know, he was married to Nancy for 7 years and Deb 7 years. So our 7th anniversary, when we got close to it,
Oh,
he got weird.
I got sick. I was so paranoid she was going to leave me.
And what happened at our 14th one?
I got sick again because I thought I was with Deb for 7 years and Nancy for 14 years. That's a bad time.
And then at the 21st, we had renewed our vows, and our friend says, it's nice to go to this and know that they're probably going to make it. And then at 28, what was your reaction? It didn't matter anymore.
No, it didn't matter. After 14, I settled in. And, you know, we never, even though we got married, we never acted like anything changed. We were exactly the same the day after we got married, before we got married. It just, we were together, but I didn't think of it as being married. And that's, I think, why it became so easy for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, at first you were embarrassed to tell your parents.
Well,
Yeah.
I know. I know. She's the little liar.
No, he was also
No,
embarrassed.
I didn't want to tell my parents. I'd been married twice. I didn't want to call and say, well, I did it again.
How many years did you wait?
Not many.
Yeah, 5, 6.
No, it was probably within the first 2 because your mom came to visit.
Oh,
My parents, our wedding date is April. To this
and
day.
her mom was going to fly up.
And I said, no, you can't get up here quick enough. Don't worry about it.
And we had already been married.
And then when we were married 2 years, we went and got the wedding dress and the tux and an appointment with the photographer. And so
And
our
got
wedding
our
pictures
pictures
are 2
taken,
years
yeah.
later.
We did everything kind of backwards.
Yeah, we never did it on time. You know. When Ron asked me to go to Alaska, we decided we were going to go. He had an apartment, and he felt that he needed Deb to come over and talk to her and, you know, say goodbye to her. And so I sent a big bouquet of sterling silver roses.
She
put
was
right there.
buttering me up.
Just, you know, I had to mark my turf.
So with Deb, you had no idea? Like it was out of the blue? You'd sensed nothing?
Nothing. No.
Did she ever give you any reason?
She
or-
gave me 3 or 4 different reasons. Like I said, I did it for you.
And she ended up getting married again.
She did. She married some guy that was younger than her. She was always attracted to older men, father figures.
Ugh. I don't
She
want to
married
touch that.
some guy who was younger than her, and he liked making the 800 phone calls.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
And she ended up divorcing him. But she, even when she was married to him, she kept the name Nye.
Why? What was her name before then?
Simmons.
Why?
You know, I don't know.
I mean, she didn't have kids, so.
Do you still keep in contact with her?
You know what? I did for a long time. And then finally, one time, she had called me because I told her I wasn't going to call her. So she'd called me, and I said, you know what? I need to get on with my life. And that was the last phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, I never met her.
Nope. So,
What were you doing when you were married to Deb? What kind of work were you doing in Arizona?
the printing
Oh, the
company.
printing. You
Yeah.
did the printing company all 7 years?
Yeah. And near the end, I was feeling tension in our relationship. I wasn't. Um, I left and applied for like a half a dozen jobs because I still owed Nancy child support.
And no matter what, child support went first.
Yep.
And that's why he would go to 7-Eleven and pick up coins off the ground until he had enough to buy a pop.
Hey, I got a pop once a week. So I made enough to.
Did you and Deb ever talk about having kids?
No.
She didn't want them.
Well, I don't think she wanted them, but I didn't want kids either.
Spider.
I'd had two.
I
You
know.
touched it.
I know. I saved you.
And you were engaged. I mean, you were involved with your daughters, with Gina and Dee Dee.
Kinda. It wasn't a good relationship. I mean, I was a hound dog and a party guy.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get like visitation with?
Yeah.
So you would like see them once a week or something like that?
Well, and like I said, Nancy would bring them over when she had a date.
And then the two of them decided to take the bus to run away to his house.
And they would take the bus and drive across, come all the way across town to my place.
Mm-hmm.
What did Deb think about them?
They were okay.
But she wasn't active like a stepmom.
No, she wasn't like, oh, let's go to a sewing bee or anything like that.
Did they like her?
Gina didn't.
As far as, like, they didn't like any girl I went with.
Well, Dee Dee was more.
Dee Dee was more accommodating than
Mhm.
anyone else. Gina was hateful towards anyone.
So after you went back to Iowa for that week, she said she was divorcing you, and then what?
Well, a couple incidents happened, but Greg gave me a car and I drove back in one day.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was like I almost drove off the road in New Mexico into a rock cliff. Hit the brakes and slid up to the cliff. Pulled back on the road and just kept driving.
Do you want to tell her about your police involvement?
My what?
Police involvement?
With,
Wasn't that the trip where you were carrying?
oh no,
That was a different one?
yeah.
Then what happened?
Greg had wanted me to get him some pot.
Oh no, I mean about with Deb.
No. Let him finish this.
Okay.
And I was just going with Deb, still married to Nancy. And I had gotten the pot, 21 pounds.
God.
Yeah, it was a lot of pot. Put it in the car, and I didn't realize Nancy had told
Arthur?
Linda,
Or Linda?
because Linda was working in the church, and Linda had told the minister, and the minister had gone to the police, and they were staking me out and everything. And the day that I was going to drive and meet Greg, Deb and I were in the car driving north, and the highway patrol pulled me over. And they said, "You're lucky we didn't let you cross the state line." I said, "Thanks." So,
It explains a lot.
yeah, and then the court decided, well, I was talking to a minister is the one where they got, and a minister is privileged communication.
Oh.
So can we arrest him on we knew nothing about it until the minister told us. So they let me off on this thing. It's called,
I forget.
I can't remember, but it was a very small program they had started, and what they would do
Diversion.
is they wouldn't accept a plea. They would say, well, the court's going to think about it for a year, and you don't get in trouble for this next year. Next year, I didn't get in any trouble. I called the parole guy, and he said, "Oh, your case was dropped, so you're good." And that was it. My only, well, almost only thing with the law. Once Steve Ross and I had stolen a car. There was a football game in Keokuk, and we had parked in the parking lot, and it was muddy. And we tried to get Steve's car out, and it wasn't moving. So we went along, found a car with keys in it, backed it up, pushed Steve's car out, and the police got us for that. But Steve's dad was a construction guy, owned his own business, and couldn't let Steve go unless they let me go too.
The justice system back in the day is questionable.
Oh yeah, it was. Is that Coco?
One of the three.
Coco.
And then what happened with Deb once you got to Arizona?
Well, I turned around and drove back like in one day, and it's like 2,500 miles. And she filed for divorce, wanted me to sign the papers, and I wouldn't do it. I wanted us to try to work things out, but I'd gone to work, came back the next day, and she'd moved out half of the furniture and stuff.
How long was it from there till you met me?
Oh,
Couple
well,
years?
I had moved in with the two girls.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah,
He was a fun guy.
I was a fun guy.
Fun guy.
Yeah. Kathy and Sandy. And Kathy and I were kind of hooking up. And she was quite a bit younger than me.
Shocker.
And then I moved out of there and started going to ATPP.
Mm-hmm.
And I had moved into a different apartment. And then I met the crazy guy,
Don.
He was like, what do you call it?
PTSD.
Major PTSD. And he wanted to get an apartment. So him and I got a 2-bedroom apartment. And he just never, ever paid the rent. I mean, he told me, oh, I got this trust. I have no trust in Don. And you came to one of the parties at Don and I's apartment. Yes, you did.
Okay.
You did.
I just can't imagine that.
Yeah, you ignored me. You were with Chris.
Oh, well, in that case, yeah.
Who's your first?
Yeah, my boyfriend.
The long-term one?
No.
No. Who's Chris? Is this the one you hit with the car?
I didn't actually hit him technically.
Okay, it was that guy.
One that she made sleep in the doghouse.
Well, he deserved
He warned
it.
me. He said, don't ever make her mad.
And then you married her.
Well, tell her about when you met me. At
The day
ATP.
I met you,
Yeah.
they said you're going to be working on ATP.
I was in building D. I think you were in C.
No, I wasn't in C.
Or were you in D?
I was in D
Okay.
with Ron Ryder,
Yes.
same as you.
Yeah.
And I walked over to the building, and the supervisor was female.
And he was having a fling with her.
Sassy.
We ended up having
Yeah.
a short time thing. And Susie Bonacci,
Mm-hmm.
assistant supervisor, and Robin was standing behind them with Ron Reiner in the swimsuit.
Because I was going to the pool with the guys.
And I thought, oh, man, that'll never happen. Yeah.
What was when you like kind of started to get to know her? What were your first impressions of her?
I was always impressed with her. I mean, she had a degree.
I made egg rolls.
She made great egg rolls.
No, before you like started going together.
We weren't going together. I brought egg rolls into the
Oh.
building,
Oh, yeah.
and he wouldn't touch Chinese food or anything weird, but he was trying to impress me. I didn't notice, though. It was quite a while before I noticed him.
She was just wandering around the building. She had, what
Doing
was
my
his
work.
name?
Ralph,
Ralph. She had a client, Ralph,
who was obsessed.
obsessed with airplanes and helicopters and
And he liked only me, so
me. I was, went with the supervisor first. And then I hooked up with Susie and didn't realize Susie, I kind of knew she was married, but I didn't know. But then I met him, Bob Bonacci. Bob and I became good friends.
Did you tell him?
no.
No,
But someone did eventually.
yeah, someone did
Oh.
eventually. He was a good guy.
Did
He
he
was.
hate you after that?
Yes.
He would not.
Oh, really?
He wouldn't
So-
even respond to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well, makes sense.
yeah. Okay, you want to skip to Elena being born?
No, wait. What else did you think of her?
She was smart. She was attractive.
But she ignored you.
She ignored me. And I didn't even try. I knew better. I mean, too smart for me, too good looking for me. I had a
You had a standard you couldn't
I had a
reach.
standard, and it was like this down, and she was up here.
But you made me laugh. That's when I started paying attention to you, because you would
Bob.
make me laugh.
Him and I were hanging around, and he started talking to her.
Bob would make me laugh also. I
Yeah.
like Bob.
And he set up kind of a get together. Had me and Robin come over to his house for dinner. He didn't tell me that Robin was going to be there. Did
Mhm.
he tell you I was going to be there?
I don't know.
And that's just kind of
It
when
was just
things
going to be a bunch of people over there.
got started.
And then we went skiing.
Uh-huh.
We went skiing,
Went skiing
and Bob. It was like Bob's first time, and he was skiing backwards.
down the hill going.
And Susie couldn't ski, so Ron and Susie hung
Susie wouldn't even try.
So that's how we started talking, is because he made me laugh.
And then they wanted us to scout out some place up around the Mogollon to take the kids camping.
And we took, I can't remember her name, but we took someone with us.
Not the first time,
Okay, the second time we did.
but they sent her and I up, And it was like an all-day trip.
It was fun.
It was fun.
We had a good time.
That's when I tricked her into asking me if I would.
You're getting the
marry her.
timeline kind of
If
messed
she-
up, but
if
you got
she-
the idea.
If she asked, would I marry her? I said, I'll have to think about it. That's just whap.
And Mom, when did you decide to start dating him?
That was our trip to when we asked him to go, if he wanted to go camping on Rocky Point and be in a tent on the beach, and
Oh,
his
when you wanted to
response
bring
was, "Can I bring my blow dryer?" Our response is, "If you want, but I don't know what you're going to do with it." And we spent the weekend in San Diego, and I had broken up with Chris then. And I decided Ron would be a nice rebound. I mean, he's getting 5 stars from a lot of other women. He would be entertaining. And so I told him that I decided that I'm going to use him as the rebound. And I'm
Use
gonna,
me and abuse me. Then
then
throw
throw
me
you
away.
away.
And I went,
Yes!
And that's when we started dating. Then shortly after that, I was driving him on campus, and he saw Susie. And that's when he said to me, "Duck!"
get down.
And I looked at him.
Hell
I don't know
no.
what the hell you're talking about. But are you ready to jump to you?
Huh?
Nope.
Okay.
Or we what?
When you started seeing Mom, were you seeing other girls too?
Oh, yeah.
Were you still seeing Susie?
I was. Didn't want to.
Oh.
I didn't, once you get involved with someone, getting out of it
Yeah.
not easy.
When did you stop seeing other people and only see Mom?
In Alaska.
You had to move to another state.
Well, I moved out of a bad situation and
And when you moved to Alaska, that's when. Why did you guys move to Alaska?
Casey Stump, a girl I knew at ATPP, knew that they were hiring at Hope Cottages because she was working for Hope. And she called me and said, why don't you come up here and work? And I didn't really want to. Alaska was not my goal. My goal was Australia. And I asked Robin one day, I said, Casey asked me to come up and work at Hope. Do you want to go? She said, sure.
13
And
years.
then you went with him?
Yep, 13 years.
Yeah,
Why did you decide to go with Dad?
it was something to do.
We were together, and the job was a dead end job. I wasn't getting anywhere.
She
And
wasn't
nothing
happy there.
changed. And the type of people there weren't the type that I connected with.
They were Dad's people.
Yeah. And, it's a new adventure. Why
Yeah.
not? And so we went. And then when we
How
got.
long had you been dating before you?
How long, hon? Ron?
Couple of months.
Jesus, Mom.
I've known him for a while, though.
Mom,
Yeah, it was pretty.
you would have killed me if I was you.
Well, we learned a lot.
Yeah.
It ended up working out, so we can
It's
skim
okay.
over it. But I'm just saying.
And we got up there and we were in the group home with teenage autistic boys, and all their parents liked us. They had no problem with us. But one day, our boss, Ron, went in and saw our boss, Torrance, and Torrance said something to him.
Torrance Royer.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he called me on the phone and said, look, some of our parents are real religious, and we knew you had said you're going to get married someday. Could you make it sooner than later? We'll even pay for the marriage.
Oh, they never paid for it. And so the boys went on some sort of outing on that particular day, and Ron called City Hall.
And
It was a Tuesday. We got there and didn't realize that we needed witnesses. So we actually had a double wedding with
military couple.
yeah, and a guy from that was waiting for driver's ed or something. And I never said the word obey in the thing.
And she never has.
Well, it'd be silly.
Did you
too.
even try?
I,
Tell her about our honeymoon.
Nancy Lake. Did I
Oh,
tell
I
you
thought
that?
you were gonna say Nana. I
No,
was
no,
like,
no.
oh my god.
He wanted to take me someplace really special.
Exotic, you know. So
December
there's this
28th.
Nancy Lake Resort, and that's the Nancy Lake Resort,
Hey, Coco.
and it was cold as hell out. And she had her dog
Nikki.
Nikki, and we drove up to Nancy Lake Resort, and started wondering about it when we drove in. And they said, well, we usually don't get people up here this time of year, but we have one cabin with electric heat.
It had a toilet seat on its door.
Yeah. And so we ended up getting that. The bed, when we got on the bed, she'd get on this side, I'd get on this side, and we just rolled to the center because the mattress went in. And
Very romantic.
and Nikki would lay there and go, "Rrr." There was something under the cabin.
And the regular outhouses were closed because of the winter,
Oh,
so you
yeah,
had to go to
they
the old
only
one.
had outhouses
And Nikki would always lift one leg and then
because
the
it was
other.
so cold.
I had to go in there and jimmy the toilet seat. I was so grateful my mom taught me how to pee outside.
She sat up on the and
Yeah.
squatted over the toilet seat.
That was our honeymoon. And Ron felt so bad that the next weekend he took me to Alyeska, a ski
Which
resort.
is
And it was a nice place. We
Yeah.
sat in outdoor jacuzzi watching people ski down. So that's how that happened. Are you ready to move to you yet?
the what?
So,
You can turn that off.
no.
No?
No.
Okay. Never mind.
You've got an hour, but that's okay. Talking about,
Do you want to take a break?
we can take a break.
I have to go
you
to
know
the
what?
bathroom.
Okay. and
I'll
we
take a
need
break.
to do